Hey everyone, it is Dani and welcome to this update video this morning. I hope you've been doing really great, and so we're going to be taking a look at our active tropical cyclones with focus being on Franklin and now Harold. So Depression 9 has intensified into Harold as expected, and both of these are threats to land. So we're going to be looking at the latest, and also multiple models including the Euro are being consistent about seeing something develop in the Gulf of Mexico, or intensify rather in the Gulf of Mexico, as we head into the end of August going into early September. And so I'll be taking you guys through what is expected later down in this video, but for now we want to focus on our active tropical systems out there. And so before I go into details, please do subscribe if you haven't yet done so, and tap the bell so that you never miss any important video. Alright, so as we take a look at this infrared satellite imagery, as we return to it, we can see that blob in association with Franklin, and to the east of the Lesser Antilles, the Leeward Islands, is Gert. So Gert is still out there. It is still a depression, and it is moving ever so slowly. Now, if this manages to stay intact somehow, or some activity manages to persist while this drift towards the west very slowly, then maybe it could be a rainmaker in the long term. Who knows? But it has been within that general area for some time now. Not much going on for it, and it could become post-tropical at any time. So let's see what's going to be happening. We've got the remnants of Emily out there. We also have Invest 92L, which isn't sustaining a lot of activity. However, conditions might be conducive down the road. So let's see how that holds out this week, whether it will manage to develop or not. And then another tropical wave is going to be making its way off Africa. So let's go ahead and zoom into the region right now. First, we're going to be talking about Harold. So as we look in the Gulf, there you can see all that shower and thunderstorm activity already moving into parts of southern Texas, the Gulf Coast of Texas. And so as the system continues toward the west-northwest, those tropical storm conditions will bear down later today around midday or so. So conditions will gradually continue to deteriorate through today, especially if you're in the warning area, which extends from the mouth of the Rio Grande to Port O'Connor in Texas. And so guys, the major concern with this is going to be the water in terms of the heavy rainfall that is expected across parts of southern Texas, and also for northern Mexico, where there could be rainfall amounts up to 10 inches in total. So a lot of heavy rainfall is likely from this in some spots. And there is also the possibility of tornadoes as well. So that is going to be another concern with the system. And as it makes its way in, the winds of the cyclone will push the water on shore. So that will cause a bit of coastal flooding, especially for immediate coastal areas that are in the warning area, where the strongest winds of the cyclone will be felt. And so guys, please take necessary precautions and stay safe. Listen to your local officials and do not take any unnecessary risks. And so now we want to go ahead and talk about Franklin. But firstly, we want to go ahead and talk about the rainfall expected across the Caribbean and surrounding areas as we head through today. So here we are looking at the Euro rainfall total map, and we can see that for some areas over in Central America, maybe some periods of heavy rainfall, especially down in southeastern Nicaragua, heading to Costa Rica, Panama, and down in some parts of northern South America, sections of Colombia and northwestern Venezuela. Maybe for northern Guyana, some thunderstorms popping up this afternoon. Much is not expected though, but there we see a lot of that activity, those shades of pinks. Most of that is going to be offshore though, so the heaviest rainfall is not going to be moving in just yet. So the landfall of Franklin has been delayed a bit. We're going to go into more details with that very shortly, but as we look to other areas across the Caribbean, heading into the Northwest Caribbean, there could be some periods of heavy rainfall for Jamaica, Cuba, even going up into the Bahamas as well, and for the Cayman Islands there could be some rainfall at times through today. Over in the Eastern Islands, it is not expected to be a rainy day for most islands, especially from around St. Kitts and Nevis and Montserrat going southward to Grenada. Also for Trinidad, Tobago, Barbados, it is likely to be a rather hot and sunny day. So all that activity has moved out, and now it is just the heat. It is important to remain hydrated and as cool as you can. If you're going out, you know that you wear your sunscreen to protect your skin from those UV rays of the sun. Now we want to go ahead and talk more about Franklin. So as we look at the satellite imagery of the region, there we can see that blob in association with it. And so there has likely been some heavy rainfall in parts of the ABC Islands. Let me know in the comments what has happened for you, especially in Aruba. Has there been any major downpours there since last night into this morning? But we see that activity making its way into parts of the northeastern islands, so likely bringing some periods of intermittent rainfall, those overcast skies. And as a matter of fact, Franklin has been shared. That is why we haven't seen it improving a whole lot. So it is maintaining intensity at 50 miles per hour right now. So it has been battling some wind shear out there, which is helping to keep the intensity of it at a minimum. But it is also slowing down, which is the reason landfall is not expected tonight, but rather early tomorrow morning. We'll be going on to the cone forecast very shortly. But as I was saying, that wind shear has been taking its toll on the system. So it is those winds coming in from the west as we head further up into the atmosphere. They come in and they basically just displace that thunderstorm activity, cuts them off, and prevent major intensification of tropical cyclones. So it really helps to shred these systems apart, and we don't see much become of them. But in the case of Franklin, some intensification is expected. The shear isn't that impactful, where it won't strengthen at all. So it is likely to intensify a bit before making its way into the Dominican Republic as we head into early tomorrow morning. Let's go on to the cone forecast, and here we can see that tropical storm warning, which is in blue, still in effect for the southern coast of Haiti, going to the Dominican Republic, and then for the rest of the Dominican Republic and the Turks and Caicos Islands as well is a tropical storm watch, which is highlighted in yellow. So these conditions are going to be bearing down as we head into tonight, going into and throughout tomorrow for Hispaniola, so for the southern part of Haiti, go into the Dominican Republic. Now, what is going to be happening with Franklin is that as it makes its way overland, the center of it is going to be disrupted. The cyclone will be disrupted, and as such, a bit of weakening is expected. So it could have a more disheveled appearance, which could result in the rainfall activity being a bit more widespread. And if you're to be affected by Franklin, please do not take any unnecessary risks. And if some preparations have not been completed, there is today. So conditions are not so bad right now. As I said, that landfall is delayed. So there is some more time to get things in place for this incoming cyclone, because conditions will be very, very dangerous. And many persons tend to underestimate the potential or the strength of these tropical storms. But the concern is always with the water. With any tropical cyclone making landfall, it's always the water that does majority of the damage, that causes majority of the fatalities. So that flooding that takes place along the coast, especially with our stronger hurricane, that storm surge, and also the heavy downpours that result in that inland flooding. And so please take the necessary precautions, as I said, guys, and stay safe as best as you can. Of course, I'll keep you posted in terms of what will happen even for the long term. Let's go on to what models are expecting now. So as we head to the latter part, the end of this month, there have been some recent trends. I have been watching the models, and now I'm just making mention of it. So several models are expecting that we could see something coming from the Caribbean and developing in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, potentially making landfall in Florida. So this is the icon model for next Tuesday. There we have that tropical storm. And by the way, off the southeastern coast is Franklin. So icon expecting that Franklin will become maybe a major hurricane. And then eventually, let's go on to Euro. Euro is showing that by Wednesday the 30th, we're going to have maybe a hurricane in the Gulf coming from the western Caribbean, making its way up. All that moisture coming out of the Pacific. Low pressure area develops in the northwest Caribbean, drifts to the north, and we see some intensification in the Gulf of Mexico. Then eventually, Euro wants to have this making landfall along the panhandle of Florida as we head to Thursday the 31st. The Canadian model is also expecting that we will have something making landfall in Florida. So here we see some consistency among these models. GFS, on the other hand, not showing anything there, but I think that it will eventually come around. With this continuous model trend, I'm expecting that the NHC will highlight an area maybe as we head to the latter part of this week. But of course, I'll keep you posted, guys, and that is it for right now. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll respond as best and as soon as I can. And as always, remember to boil the wise.